Hello, everyone. Thank you if you tuned in a little bit earlier. We love this virtual platform that we have here. However, the downside of it is sometimes we hit some technical difficulties, and Facebook was having a bit of a fit when we tried to get the live video started. So we are here now. Hi. My name is Evin, and I am the host of Michigan Nature Bites, a weekly web series hosted here at the Howell Nature Center. And it's a chance for us to get little tidbits of knowledge about the world around us to fuel our brains. There's a little bit of funny, a little bit of serious, and a lot of nature. So, really quickly, one of the first things I want to do is remind you all that this is a Facebook Live video, which means it gets to be some level of interactive. And because Ryan is back in the studio this week, I'm not running it solo, so I can have him tell me what you all have questions about. So please be interactive. Make sure that you're asking questions and commenting on things because we love to hear that you all are having fun while watching this video. So, while we are going to meet Smokey, my friend, the Screech Owl, here in just a second, it is been just an absolute whirlwind of a week because we are smack dab in the middle of baby season here at the Nature Center. And because I work with our wildlife, I get to step into our wildlife clinic, even though that's not my official job title. And that has meant that this week I have spent a lot of time with our baby patients. So everything from our baby bunnies that need to be tube fed to our ducklings that need to have their bedding changed, I am able to help the clinic staff in there with that. However, there's a way that you can help too. We are in the middle of our baby shower time. So while we can't all celebrate together right now because we are trying to stay socially distanced, you can still celebrate with us and help us out by donating to our baby shower appeal. There's been an amazing donor who has stepped up and is willing to match up to $25,000 that you all donate as well. So at minimum, we are hoping for about $50,000 from this campaign, and that'll help get us through baby season, because if you have a human baby, or even a puppy, or even another animal baby in your home, you know how expensive they can be. So babies from the wild, not any different. And these need super special formula. All right, that's it. I'm done. That's my pitch. I hope that you all will join us a little bit later for our baby shower appeal, and stay tuned for more information about that. Now, I'm gonna put my glove on, and we are going to meet Smokey the Screech Owl, and we're gonna talk a little bit specifically about a couple of different things, because each time we meet some of these animals, you know, we might meet them more than once, but we might talk about these things a little bit differently. So my tiny friend here is Smokey the Screech Owl, and he is fully grown. This is as big as he is going to get. And he is the second smallest owl in Michigan. The smallest owl is the northern saw-whet owl, which is about this big. They're really, really cute. Now, screech owls are very cute as well. But one of the things I want to highlight today are the use of feathers by birds, because different birds have different feathers, and we'll probably do a more compare and contrast. There we go. My English teacher would be proud. We'll do a more compare and contrast style presentation maybe another time. But for Smokey, being the second smallest owl in Michigan comes with its challenges. And the design of his feathers, the way that his feathers look and the pattern that they give off help with that fact. Because if you are about as big as a fun-sized bag of Skittles, if we're talking about weight-wise, then you are kind of on the menu for bigger owls, because we have much bigger owls than Smokey here in Michigan. We have we used to have barn owls. We have barred owls that are, you know, about this big. We have great horned owls, which are about this big. And we even have great gray owls, which are about this big. And so for Smokey, those are all birds that would be eyeballing him for a nice tasty snack. And we're not talking about fun Nature Bite snacks. We're talking about actual snacks that would end Smokey's time here with us. And so if we take a look at his feathers, what are some things we're thinking of? Like, why are his feathers the way that they are? So think to yourself, if I were that small, what would I want to do? Well, one, you'd want to hide, right? And not only is this helpful for him to find food, because it means that he can hide from his prey and he can sneak up on them. And as we've talked about with some of our other owls, their feathers are designed a little bit differently from our daytime birds, because instead of those like nice sharp edges, something like a falcon that's really fast, really agile, owls have kind of rough edges to their feathers to help them silently fly through the air to sneak up on their prey. So, just take a second, listen to him if he'll do it again. No, okay, that's fine. If he does it again, I'll try to shut up faster. All right, so those feathers help him to fly silently, which means that he can sneak up on prey, right? And so the color of his feathers helps him with that too, but in order to stay hidden from things that might try to eat him, his feathers are an essential part of his camouflage. So that word camouflage is used in a whole bunch of different settings. We use camouflage if we are trying to blend into the natural world as well as the fact that animals will use camouflage for multiple different reasons as well. They can use it to keep themselves hidden from their prey, like Smokey would do, or to keep themselves hidden from predators. So with Smokey's feathers, and I'll see if I can turn him around. Ryan, am I still focused in the camera? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So those feathers are meant to look like tree bark. And we get 3 different types of screech owl colorations. We get red morphs, which are kind of a rusty red color that blend really well into reddish colored trees, things like maybe like a pine tree that kind of has a more reddish colored bark. You've got your gray screech owls, which are birds like Smokey, who are going to blend into a variety of different trees and tree barks. And then you have your brown screech owls, which tend to be found a little bit more out west, where there's more things like rocks and sandstone, where they might need to blend into stuff like that. So here in Michigan, we usually see the 2 red and gray screech owls, and we call those color morphs. So it's really cool colors in birds, because even though they're the same species, they're still screech owls. They can look completely different to each other when it comes to color. And there's another couple of species that this happens in with as well. There's a species of hawk that if you've been to our nature center before, you have seen Harlan, the Harlan's hawk, which is a very similar bird to a red-tailed hawk. Their colorations are pretty much exclusively brown and white. But come to find out, upon genetic testing, because this is where science gets really cool, they're the same species as a red-tailed hawk. So why did they end up looking so different in color? Their environment. So their environment drives the kind of colors that appear in their feathers. Now, they can't change their feathers once they start growing. Smokey is always going to be a gray screech owl. He will never transition to a red morph screech owl. But he was born in an area of the country where this is one of the more advantageous colors to have. So for our Harlan's hawk, the brown and white, they tend to occur much farther north, where they're needing to blend into rocky ledges, rocky bare ground with like snow sprinkled on top of it. So that white paired with the brown works really well for them. The last couple of things we're going to talk about before we open it up to questions, so go ahead and start thinking about what questions you might want to ask, are the fact that he has these 2 little tufties above his head. And those are not ears. They are called plumicorns. You heard me right, not unicorn, but plumicorns. And they help him to blend in as well, because it helps to distort or change his silhouette against a tree. So normal owls, they sit against the tree and their heads are nice and rounded, and it's pretty easy if they're moving their head around, you can see that it's an owl. But some animals don't have the best vision ever. And so even just by putting up those plumicorns, he distorts his silhouette or the shape of his body just enough that he can become almost invisible to certain animals' vision. Most notably the kinds of animals that he's trying to hunt or prevent being hunted by. So since all of our animals here at the Nature Center are non-releasable, real quick background on Smokey. When he was a baby, he was taken from the wild and kept as somebody's pet in their home. They didn't intend for it to be this way, but instead of bringing him to a rehabber when they found him fallen from his nest, they kept him in their home. And what this means is that he is mal-imprinted, which if you've been watching our shows before, means that he thinks that he is a person. And there are a whole bunch of challenges that come with that. So unfortunately, he's not able to be released into the wild. But the last thing I'll say, I promise, I'm almost ready for questions. The last thing I'll say before we do that is right now in the clinic, we have a screech owl that you might have seen featured previously on our Facebook page who was stuck in a glue trap and needed a little bit of help getting itself back up to speed. So it has been given all sorts of spa treatments and all sorts of baths to try and get it there. And now we are just waiting for that individual to make sure that all of their feathers are back into place and that they are going to keep their feathers that are so important for their survival up to snuff. So other than a little bit of R&R, our friend the screech owl in our clinic right now should be able to go back out into the wild. All right, Ryan, what questions do we have today for our Nature Bites episode?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Come on, you all. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've had the ability to ask questions, but come on. How could you not want to know more about Smokey the Screech Owl? All right, well, I'll blabber on for just a little bit longer to give anybody watching a chance to ask any questions that they might have. But the last couple of things I want to touch on for our screech owl is because they are so small, they have some important features like these talons. So these talons on the end of his toes are about the same size as a cat's claws. And like we talked about a second ago, Smokey is not the size of a cat, right? He really and truly is only about as heavy as a bag of Skittles. So the fact that he has a weapon on the end of his feet that are as big as a sometimes 13-pound cat means that he is a pretty formidable predator. Heck yes, we've got a question. Fire away, Ryan.
Yes. How many eggs is a typical nesting clutch, and what do the parents feed the young ones?
Ooh, love that question. So eggs are going to vary a little bit based on species, but for our screech owls, it's going to be somewhere around 3 to 5. Most of the time, there's only about 3. So if we're talking about average, there's about 3 screech owl babies. And then because nature can be a bit of a challenge, sometimes there's really only 2 that make it into adulthood. So they're not very large clutches of eggs, but their parents are incredibly dedicated, and actually both mom and dad will take care of the chicks. And so they're going to be looking for starting their chicks off with insects. So they'll eat things like moths, even sometimes caterpillars or little just like creepy crawlies that you can find going places. And that's easy for them to digest. There's no bone, there's no fur, there's no feathers. And then they're going to transition them to a little bit more robust food, and they will feed them small pieces of ripped off meat. So they're still not eating those whole bones, they're not eating prey items whole, but they'll feed them small pieces of meat. And then when they pass that stage, because again, mom and dad are very good at making sure that their babies are taken care of, they will start feeding them larger chunks. And that'll include things like fur and bone. And eventually, they'll start bringing home live prey for them to practice hunting with. And while that might seem kind of cruel to us, that's an incredibly important part of how these owls develop, and part of the reason why it's so difficult for us to take care of them if we're not properly trained. So if you do find a baby screech owl, don't take this as like, hey, this is your handbook for how to raise a screech owl. Please still bring them to us, because there are things that we can't teach you or shouldn't teach you because it's illegal if you're not permitted. So in order to help them, we would love to have them here. Well, we don't love to have them here, but we'd love to take care of them here. All right, Ryan, do we have anything else, or are we gonna wrap up for today? Okay, remember, these are bites, not meals. So this short little trip that we've had today is where we are going to stop, and I'm so excited to see you all next week. Remember, we are here 7 days a week. You can come visit us anytime you want. And we are swamped with babies right now. As a matter of fact, as soon as I put Smokey away, I'm gonna go feed some babies. So remember, take a look at our baby shower, and hopefully you all will feel the need to give us a little bit of money so we can feed those babies.
Just got
Yes.
a question. She just joined.
Oh, hello. Thank you for joining us.
What can you explain what glue traps are?
Ooh,
and how bad they are?
I absolutely can. So glue traps are a type of trap that are often used for things like insects. So they can be used for things like ants and roaches and things like that, all the way up to larger pests. So things like mice and rats. And the really tragic part of a glue trap is that it's kind of a really torturous way to get rid of these pests, because again, we're not asking you to live with them in your home. There are humane ways to get rid of them, but glue traps are basically a sticky mess that if they run across it, they get stuck on it, and it doesn't kill them because there's no poison in it, but they slowly either suffocate because they've gotten their face stuck on it, or they are not able to get food or water, and so they either die of starvation or dehydration. And this is really problematic, just aside from the fact that that's horrendous altogether. It can affect other animals as well. So if there's a mouse stuck to a glue trap that's struggling, that is a beacon for an animal like a screech owl that is looking for a quick meal. And so they fly down and they grab a hold of that mouse. Well, now it's not just the mouse that's stuck to the glue trap, it's the screech owl as well. And so there are plenty of other methods of extermination for those pests in your home. If you are currently using glue traps, you're not a villain, but now you know, and we ask that you try to use a different method instead. All right, friends, so thank you for your questions. We are going to wrap it up for today. This video will be posted a little bit later after it has a chance to upload, and you can catch it on our YouTube channel. So see you all later, and remember to fuel your brain with nature knowledge.